Lily was just so special. She was always laughing. She was fiercely competitive. When we were all playing games, she got excited when she got you. Lily loved to draw. She liked to sketch. She still does. If there's a piece of paper lying on the table, she'll take a pencil and she'll draw.
About 5 years ago, I came home from work and I couldn't find Lily. Eventually found her, and she was just talking about people watching her in the backyard looking at her, and she was closing windows. And it was just really weird because Lily was a kid who never cared what other people thought.
I felt like I was constantly being watched. I felt like I had no privacy. I felt complete despair because of all the paranoia that I had.
She would sort of turn as if she's hearing things, which she was. And she'd just start tearing and crying. Whatever was, coming at her was obviously horrifying.
It had gotten to the point where she didn't even really recognize us. She was examined by every possible specialty.
The medical professionals didn't listen, and they attributed everything to either she was just being a teenager or this was onset of a mental health issue. And Alison was a psychologist and said, this is not typical.
My husband and I just started frantically doing research. I came across autoimmune encephalitis in my reading.
Autoimmune encephalitis causes a lot of symptoms in terms of thinking, memory, language, psychiatric symptoms, including hallucinations or confusion, depending on which part of the brain is involved and which antibody patients have. NMDA receptor encephalitis is still probably the most recognized. Susanna Cahalan's book really helped that narrative.
My next guest lived in a true nightmare. She's written a book called Brain on Fire, My Month of Madness.
I had kind of strange behaviors. I started becoming psychotic and I started to hallucinate. And ultimately, I was diagnosed with anti-NMDA receptor autoimmune encephalitis.
There's many more kinds of autoimmune encephalitis where they're discovering new antibodies all the time, and those have very different pictures. Antibody negative or seronegative means we don't know what that antibody is, but we see signs in the testing that we do that show that there is specifically CNS inflammation and brain dysfunction. One of the challenging spaces is how are you diagnosing seronegative AE? In Lily's case, she had antibodies that are more rheumatology antibodies that were positive, that can be disease-causing and help explain her course, but they were not anti-neuronal antibodies. We are really big fans of the labs where they do cell-based assays to look initially and see if there's any anti-neuronal binding. So even if they have an antibody, they don't know what to call it, certain labs would contact you and say, we don't have a detectable antibody that we know what it is, but we can see that there is binding on our cells when we put your CSF or your serum, and that there may be something immune-mediated going on if that fits with the picture of your patient.
Lily had a PET scan, and that's how she was finally diagnosed. It took a long time for her to kind of become herself again. It was probably a good 2 years before I felt like, Lily's back.
During her recovery, she drew pictures. Alison had Lily send a bunch of things she had drawn during this process to the AE Alliance. They made them into cards, thank you notes, fundraising for AE.
I feel like I've taken a really bad experience and I've grown from it. I'm going off to college, and I'm very excited for whatever comes next.